Hi guys, how are we doing? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Did I wake up today and choose violence? Very, very, very possibly. All over my feed over the past week, maybe less than that. I don't know. Literally, Taylor Swift has been everywhere. I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but every other scroll now, at the very beginning, it was actually every single scroll was about someone saying something about Taylor Swift. Fighting, I was using a bit of resistance to not comment on Taylor Swift because it is such a divisive topic. You say the words Taylor Swift 3 times in front of a mirror and like a flock of Swifties come at you. Do you have some thoughts and feelings on just generally, not her, just mainly her business practices? I have made videos on Taylor Swift before. In my last couple of videos, that was when the Tortured Poet Department album came out, and I was saying that the amount of variants is absolutely insane. There were a lot of variants. There was like close to 30 variants within the last album release, and that was very divided. A lot of people then started questioning her business practice, started questioning, is this all a money grab? Then that whole capitalist queen started coming into play. People then started noticing that she was then blocking other artists from achieving high numbers within their own albums, such as Charlie XCX and Billie Eilish would come out and release their album. She would then release like more variants, which would then mean that everyone would be flocking to go this, go that, because she is such a huge name. Do you know what I mean? I feel like everyone knows who Taylor Swift is at this point. What I will say before I carry on with this is that there is no such thing as an ethical billionaire, and I will stand down on that. If we're not going to be talking about the environmental impact that she has had with her private jets, so she was like suing that college student who just so happened to be tracking celebrity jets, and she started suing them because she didn't want everyone to know exactly how much she was using. Swifties will turn around and they will tell you, well, no, it was safety. It's like, no, you can track any plane. Not make special arrangements just for Taylor Swift, okay? You can track planes. I just wanted to do a bit just straight off the top of the dome with this one because I just have like a few things that I just wanted to input into this conversation. A few images and things that I'd like to share with the class, but overall, I kind of just want this to be like a little chat with a load of notes that I've got because this is like a follow-on conversation from Tortured Poet Department. Ultimately, it was quite greedy of her when you're already so rich and you've already got this and that to be blocking other artists from achieving high numbers, because if Taylor Swift puts something out, whether or not it is a 10-second audio of her farting, Swifties are going to flock and buy it. With you, where am I even going to start with this one? I have listened to the album, believe it or not. I have actually listened to it. Do not come for me. I actually think that the very first 3 tracks or 4, I actually really enjoyed the first 3 tracks. I'm not gonna, just because I don't agree with someone's business practices and the ethical nature of what they do and promote, just because of that. That doesn't mean to say that I'm going to hate on absolutely everything that they produce musically. But just like a lot of people, a lot of Swifties included, all right, I did think that the overall album was not a reflection of her best work. And I have listened to a lot of her music, okay? I kind of grew up with Taylor Swift. I do understand when she can make good music and when she can make bad music. I do tend to think that a lot of her music does sound the same. A lot of lyrics, including Did You Girl Boss Too Close to the Sun. There was a whole entire song dedicated to Travis Kelce's Never Regions, which was not great to listen to. There was one called Father Figure, which was also not brilliant. Anyway, I'm not going to like bore everyone with telling you how I feel. But what I did find on Reddit was that someone had basically compiled all the different variants that she's been coming out with. And Life of a Showgirl was already at 29, and the Tortured Poet Department got up to 26. So we are already surpassing her last album, where I had an issue with the amount of variants. And guess what? Swifties are buying these variants, right? It doesn't matter.
Well, I bought every single vinyl and CD variant for Taylor Swift's The Life of a Showgirl, so you don't have to. Or maybe you do, because honestly, I'm obsessed with all of these, the packaging and everything. This is the best she's ever done.
The AI imagery. So not only did we have the new album, but we also had this, I don't even know what it was meant to be advertised as, a kind of like a movie. I don't know. People were paying like $30 or whatever to go into theaters and to go and watch cinematic masterpiece that Taylor Swift had come up with. And essentially it was a lyric video with a couple of things of her sitting there in front of a board explaining, you know, how she came up with the concept of something. People are saying that it wasn't worth it, other people are saying that it was.
However disappointing you found the album, the film was worse. I had almost entirely forgotten about the $30 I had spent on tickets for me and my roommate, but we were still so excited to see this film that we were 20 minutes late to the theater. Luckily for us, we didn't really disturb anyone with our late entry because there weren't too many other people in the theater. Honestly, calling this catastrophe a film is a gracious overstatement. It's more so an overglorified lyric video that loops lackluster behind the scenes from the Fate of Ophelia music video behind lyrics I've been trying to ignore since Thursday evening.
The AI imagery is what has got a lot of people, because when they were advertising Life for Showgirl, people who are more clued in to working with AI or design, editing, making film, noticed extremely quickly that they were using AI to create this piece of art.
Several short videos have been released that are supposed to be full of Easter eggs, and in my opinion, they were generated using AI. One of the easiest things to look for is inconsistency. Look at the shape of this window up here and see how it does not match the light coming in through that window. The shape of the light on the floor is totally inconsistent with the shape of the window. If you were rendering these dumbbells in 3D, you wouldn't just make two different shaped ends of the dumbbell. You would simply make the first end of the dumbbell, flip it around, and turn it into the other end of the dumbbell. So this is extra work to make it look worse if it was actually CGI. And that's one of the ways you can tell it's AI. Besides the fact that this is ridiculous and no designer should make this error ever. The treadmill is also interesting. Up close, the buttons just don't make sense. Unless treadmills now have a mop feature and I'm just out of the loop. Here's another example. With this birdhouse, there's a sign underneath that says honey. This shot initially starts close and then zooms out with the birdhouse and honey sign still in the frame. Let's take a closer look. Okay, take a good look at this font. And now look at this one. Especially remember the loop on the H and this Y here. These are literally just two completely different fonts. There is no way a graphic designer would change the font halfway through.
A lot of people do not have an issue with AI. Some people use it all the time. I do have an issue with it. I have an issue with it when we're talking about how it affects the climate, how it affects the environment. Also, I find that the over-reliance on AI extremely freaky, and some of the stuff that you can deep fake nowadays. I'm not saying it doesn't have a place, but I think you know what I mean when you really can't tell the difference between real life and AI anymore. If you are making that much money and if you're a billionaire, why the hell are we using AI? Like, it just feels like that whole concept of the advertising was just really quickly, a load of ideas were kind of fired there to then create a project to then shell out to the public. It felt very rushed. And not just that, but then you also have Life of a Showgirl. The artwork is very Sabrina Carpenter-esque, and when you're actually listening to the album, it doesn't really reflect the artwork. At least that's just my own opinion. I don't feel like it's a really good reflection of it. Maybe the first couple of tracks. So this jab that she did towards Charlie XCX, which did create a lot of hostility among the Brat lovers. And I did find a clip of Charlie XCX saying, "Made the sympathy is a knife." I think it was that track. She basically says that no, this was not a diss track. It was just, me feeling like you have your peers and you're being pitted against each other and feeling not undervalued, but feeling inferior towards someone a lot, but like that kind of stuff. It wasn't meant as an attack.
The other tracks in question aren't diss tracks. They're really just about how it's so complicated being an artist, especially a female artist, where you are pitted against your peers but also expected to be best friends with every single person constantly, and if you're not, you're like deemed a bad feminist. And that to me is just like such a unrealistic expectation. So yeah, these songs are kind of about how, as a woman, as an artist, some days you can feel on top of the world, some days you can feel unbelievably insecure, other days you can feel highly competitive, sometimes you can feel like literal trash.
However, Taylor Swift did a track, can't remember the name of it right now, put it up here, where it was very obvious she was talking about Charlie XCX, and it just feels like, what is even the point? I swear them two actually performed on stage once upon a time, so that just feels a little bit strange. It does remind me of what happened to Olivia Rodrigo, where she was up and coming, she was ultra excited. I believe she had just recorded Deja Vu, that had come out, and she said that she'd gained inspiration from one of Taylor Swift's songs. It wasn't copying, just gained inspirations, as a lot of young artists do, to big artists who they admire. And Taylor Swift's team, even though the song is nothing, got a load of money out of Olivia Rodrigo. When you put both songs side by side, they do not sound similar. Then to my next point of the fact that I swear on my life, one of the tracks on that album, I can swear I can hear the Jackson 5 on that. There's a few. There's one that is like, oh, she's sweet but a psycho, which sounds exactly like one of the songs on Taylor Swift's album. You can hear, and so many people who have a really good ear for music, who are not even really in the topic of conversation between is Taylor Swift a good artist or not. People are coming out who are really into music, are putting her song side by side with a song that sounds exactly the same and going, well, I don't understand how we've gotten to this point because of what happened to Olivia Rodrigo. Looking at Taylor Swift as a muse, Taylor Swift clapped back on her and demanded rights or money back or whatever, some royalties, when yet Taylor Swift is very, very, very clearly gaining inspiration or just downright near copying the beat on some of her songs on the album. And I don't think that's very fair. It's just like it's just like, because she's so big, or like it's her team, whoever it is, right? Because she's such a big artist, it's like she feels that she's untouchable. But a majority of what she sings and writes about is very like, poor me, I'm a victim, I'm this, I'm that. But it's like, you're Taylor Swift. You are Taylor Swift. How can we keep on going? And this isn't to sound ageist, and this isn't to say that you can't sing about whatever. Like, hell, I think I have a really childish side, and I'm 29 this year. Do you know what I mean? Like, but she is I don't know. She's in her 30s at this point. She's still singing about things that happened in high school. I have this notion that really she doesn't have a hell of a lot to write about nowadays, because when you get to that status, a billionaire status, what do you really know about the real world? What do you really know and can contribute and to have a different spin on something that everyone else is experiencing? You just don't, because you are so far removed. There's also the interview that she did, I believe it was with Greg James, who is actually one of my favourite radio hosts. I always listen to The Breakfast Show. And she made a comment saying that she was actually quite worried, because she was worried that as soon as she was happy and in love, which she's with Travis Kelce now, then she would have nothing to write about and her music would flop.
It's big, happy pop.
Yeah.
And you're in love.
Yeah.
You are. It's kind of gross.
No, it's not.
It's sickeningly.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's
not.
lovely.
I don't know what you heard. It's a full picture of like the full life experience, which for me is like, there's always some element of drama that someone is forcing into my consciousness, which is fun to write about too.
But by the way, I love being sickeningly in love.
Yeah,
it's so nice.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's like, I used to kind of have this dark fear that if I ever were truly like happy and free being myself and nurtured by a relationship, and what happens if the writing just dries up? What if writing is directly tied to my torment and pain?
I'm not saying that is what has happened, because truth be told, I didn't like her last album, although she's actually been with him for a couple of albums now, so I don't know. Whatever, right? I do think there is an essence of truth in that. She should have taken a few years off so that she had stuff to write about. You know, I mean, there are a lot of people that do just really enjoy, and they like finding the Easter eggs, and they like discovering and listening to how well she writes things. Yeah, I think a majority of her best work was when she was, you know, in and out of relationships, and then she'd write songs about relationships, you know what I mean? But now she's like happy and in love, and she's a billionaire. What the hell is she writing about? And all of that is culminating in the fact that was her management, was her team on her back going like, you need to make this album? Or was it her just being greedy and going, I need more money? How much substance are you really, like, I don't believe, the album was derived of any substance. Also made a comment actually really quite recently. She made a comment to Variety, which had a lot of people with their backs up. You have to remember that she was extremely, you know, like back a few years ago, it was like female empowerment and, you know, we can do this and da 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 da. And now she's sort of like turned in the opposite direction with a comment that she made about whether or not she would perform at the Super Bowl. She made this comment that I do find slightly laughable. I'm really sorry. Taylor Swift says she's not playing the Super Bowl halftime show because I'm in love with a guy who does that sport on that actual field. Fair enough. What does she have to say? Like, professional football is violent chess. That is gladiators without swords. That is dangerous. I am, for the whole season, locked in on what that man is doing on the field. Can you imagine if he's out there every single week, putting his life on the line, doing this very dangerous, very high pressure, high intensity sport, and I'm like, she puts on a ditzy voice and face, although I'm not going to do it because I will butcher her accent and it will come across as really rude. I wonder what my choreo should be. I think we should do 2 verses of Shake It Up. Into Blank Space, into Cruel Summer. That would be great. This has nothing to do with Travis. He would love for me to do it, but I'm just too locked in. Violent chess. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I mean, yes, she's definitely got her way of words. I think it's the fact that she's dumbing down what she does in order to lift him up, which is kind of the opposite of what she promoted for a little while. I will say is that I do firmly believe that Taylor Swift, basically one of my thoughts about her is that she morphs into whatever character people need her to be at that time. So at that time when she was going like women empowerment, girl boss, da 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 da, it was all a marketing strategy. That's what I think, to make people feel like we're all in it together. She's always had a very personable relationship with her fans, and that has cultivated parasocialness, which has then led to fans becoming really obsessed with her. But she's done all of that in a very, very, very clever way. I mean, she doesn't actually know any of her fans. Do you know what I mean? She doesn't know you. When she went through that whole woman boss power in, I'm losing my words now, you know, women in power, da 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 da. That was just her at that moment. That was a marketing ploy, and it definitely worked. Helped her sell a lot of you know units. But here she is completely going against that. She's just like, oh well, I'm just doing a silly little dance over here. You know, it's nothing. You know, I've got to be that. Like, and don't get me wrong, right? Being on stage when she did the Eras tour, that doesn't look freaking easy. She was giving it her all on stage. Like, yeah, I will give her credit. That looks like a very physically, mentally demanding thing to do. But she's demeaning that for the sake of Travis. You guys give me like a little lobster if you've managed to make it this far. Because I am well aware that this is going on. Recently there was a Zane Lowe interview where basically she's now come back on and she's saying that there is a lot of satiricalness within her album and trying to pass it off as if a majority of it are at people that this is satire and that she's saying these things in a satirical way. The Swifties are obviously, I'll insert comments up here. Swifties are obviously jumping on it and they're going, well, yeah, we could have told you that was satire. So obvious. And other people are saying, well, yeah, it might have been satire, but it wasn't very well used. It wasn't very well implemented in the song.
Sometimes I'll use specific vernacular to be satirical. Like the entire first verse of Eldest Daughter is somebody trying to figure out how to say things that they've read on the internet, whether it be like apathy is hot or memes and trolling. And how do I keep up with how we're supposed to talk in order to describe how much we don't care when really we all care about something.
It does remind me of when Katy Perry from, oh my God, when was this, guys? Was this last year or this year? I can't remember. I really can't remember what it was. Katy Perry's new album, and she had that Women's World. She did the Women's World, whatever the hell. Imagine if that was 2 years ago. I don't think it was. I think it was this year or last year. I don't know. Anyway, so she did the Women's World. And then people were saying to her, like, what the hell is this? Like, why are you dumbing yourself down? Because she had like all of she had this really like girl boss song, like it's a woman's world and you're happy to be living in it, da, da, da. But then the music video was over sexualizing women, like, and not in this sort of tongue-in-cheek way. It was just plain sexualizing women, which is, I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine, but that's not matching up with the meat. That's all. It's like two different concepts. She then came out on set and she went, "Guys, this is satirical. We're having fun with it." I don't know. This kind of reminds me of that. But Taylor Swift is also known, you know, playing devil's advocate. She is also known for these really corny lyrics. And is it all meant to be in satire or not? I just don't know. I have so many thoughts on Taylor Swift. Also the fact that she could use her powers for so much good, but it just seems like she doesn't. People will come out and say, yeah, well, she donates food to every city and da-da-da. It's like, that is bare fucking minimum. That is bare minimum behavior, doing that when it's coming from a billionaire. She could do so much. It's never, unless it's to directly affect her and her sales, she won't really ever talk about things. And that obviously is extremely disappointing, because then you've just got another billionaire who just doesn't give a toss about anyone or anything that's going on. Doesn't mean to say that every single celebrity and every single person should speak about every single issue ever possible. No, because I don't feel like that is, I don't feel like that is possible anyway, even if you wanted it to happen. But I do think that with a lot of power and when you have a lot of money, you should do that to do some good. And just, spending some money on food banks when you go to a city. I think people forget how much money billions is. I think it is so much money compared to millions. It is incomprehensible. So when you hear about her doing these sweet gestures, then people are like, well, that's good enough. It's like, I don't think a lot of people are very aware of just how much money she has. Sick and tired of just seeing the same crap rolled out every single year, where it has been for the past 2 years with her. It's just blocking artists. It's blocking female artists from achieving hotspots. Oh yeah, because that was another bit as well, is that with the Charlie XCX, she wanted to block Charlie XCX on the UK top chart. So she only released these variants in the UK for like a really short space of time just to block Charlie. Like, that is how vindictive it went. You can Google it if you don't actually believe me. But anyway, that's all I got to say. I do honestly come in semi-peace. I'm not going to get all riled up for Taylor Swift. Not here, not today. But those are my general thoughts on the matter. I'm just slow to talk about it because I was just getting over how drained I felt from the last album that she released, and everyone was talking about it. You will probably see this on Sunday. I've recorded this on Friday, so if anything has happened in between, then yeah, I'm not going to get to it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and I will catch up with you guys in the next video.